Hello, everyone, and welcome to this introduction video where we are going to talk about how to list your property on booking.com. As you can see, I've already logged in. This is a freshly created account, so I specifically have done it in order to go through the whole process from the very beginning till the end. You can also see that the property is not bookable and the status is closed. I only have one unit here. Normally, if you do it professionally with the time, you have several listings here, especially for those of you who are running a company specialized on short-term rentals. You will also see here different kind of notifications popping up in case something is not running properly or needs to be done or needs to be modified, etc. In my case, it would be confirming the location. Yes, this is kind of a standard procedure here on Booking. What we are going to do today, I would like to go through all of these main fields located here in the main menu. Basically, if you know all of the functions you have and the things you have here listed, you know how to work with Booking, and nothing ever should represent a big problem or issue to you. In case we have some time left, I would also go through some of the settings related to the account. All of them are generally quite easy to follow, but there are some certain points I would like to mention. But let's see how much time we will need for all the major parts of today's tutorial. Well, for now, we are at this home section. What it does, I've already told you. So basically, it's kind of overview. Then we have this category, which is called rates and availability. We have different sections here, and maybe the most important one is calendar. Calendar is also kind of an overview of this whole section. So here you can see the rates you have set up. You have the total overview of the blocked periods, open periods. You see all the rates you have set up. You can see the details, like, for example, for how many people does this rate apply, whether there are some discounts if, for example, only one person is staying, or in case of 4 people, what would be the pricing per guest. You can set here the minimum length of stay. Naturally, you can do it just by typing in any kind of nights amount here. You have minimum advance reservation, and in case you don't really know what it is, there is always this question sign here, and if you go with your mouse on there, you can see what exactly it means and how to interpret the whole thing. Yes, you can also see the restrictions in case you have set them for all the rates. And as I already mentioned, pricing per guest, you can select the period you want to have a look at, and you can list view as monthly view, for example, or yearly view. It's all quite simple, and basically it's just sort of a summary of this whole section here. What you also have here, there is this thing which is called copy yearly rates, meaning in case you do not run any particular revenue tool, in case you don't use any pricing strategies, in case you don't have any additional tool you use for setting up the price for you and sending it directly through Channel Manager to the booking account, you have this option here where you can say, I would like to copy all the rates I've already set up for this year for the next year. And I can say I would like to copy all the rate plans or a specific one. I can use the same prices, or I can increase them by a certain sum, whether it's a fixed sum or a certain percentage, or decrease them. So it's up to you. I mean, this is a relatively easy and not really well functioning kind of revenue management tool or revenue management technique they have implemented in there. For the very beginning, I suppose it's quite a good thing, just in case you are not really into the whole topic, you don't know all the different software out there which can help you with setting up prices, restrictions, and stuff like that. You can try out these quite basic things, which I suppose are relatively easy to understand how the whole thing is working and how you can set it up. Same goes for opening and closing rooms. If you know that you, I don't know, are planning a holiday, you need the place for yourself, for your friends, family, you're planning a renovation, you can close entire property, or you can just close a particular rate in case you don't want to have non-refundable rates anymore, and select them to be closed, or if it was closed, to reopen the whole thing. Then you have the rate plans, actually. In this case, most of them are quite standardized. So you have flexible rate normally and a non-refundable rate. Here you can see the details. So it applies for all the properties, for example, or maybe it only applies for 1 or 2 properties in case you have several ones. You do not include any meal. Yes, in case you offer breakfast, you could include it. Value adds, which is another thing I'm going to talk about a bit later, but basically some sort of a spoiler, it could be something like an airport transfer, whether you set a minimum stay, or yes, whether it's bookable or not, whether there's a particular restriction for bookability. So for example, a guest should reserve your property in a minimum time in advance. Yes, you can also edit this rate, edit certain points about the rate, or you can completely delete it. You can also add a new rate plan. So in this case, you will have more prices, but generally, I would almost say, please use some sort of revenue tool or pricing tool, just in order to facilitate the whole process of setting up the prices, and do not really care about whether you have everything updated or not. But speaking about revenue management tools and pricing tools, there is another video I'm going to make where I will speak about different software tools and hope that this will be of a big value for you guys. Then you have this value adds, something I've already mentioned. This is a new option on Booking and not really completely finished yet. But I think what it represents, the easiest way to understand it is to compare it with some top amenities you basically have on Airbnb when looking at an Airbnb listing. You can also select here different features, something that highlights your property and that the guest will see. Also group them all together. And so this is also an option to create a package and give it a particular name. In case it's only late check-in, for example, you can also call it late check-in. So nothing that would confuse the guest. Yes, make it easy and understandable. And then there is also this last point, which is pricing per guest, meaning that here you can actually set up for a specific rate or all of your rates, what is the basic occupancy related to the normal price shown on the front page for the guest. And then, for example, if the apartment is suitable for 3 guests or 4 guests, you can say, well, it's fine, but if you book for 3 guests, there will be an increase in price by 20%. And also a discount if it's, for example, only 1 guest. You can activate it or deactivate it. You can use custom percentages. You can also try out recommended ones. You see it will be modified automatically. Just try it out and use it on your own. Once you have completed all the changes, do not forget to save them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. As I already mentioned, this section, apart from calendar, where you kind of have all the overview, is not really relevant for you, maybe only with the exception of value adds. But all the other things I've talked about are not really relevant for you in case you're using a channel manager, which sends all the rates and availability directly to the booking account. And also if your channel manager is from its side connected to a pricing tool. And just mentioning some of them, it could be Price Labs, Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing, and there are a lot of other different tools out there you can use. Then there is this reservation section. Basically, it's only about different reservation you would have here. You can filter those reservations by keywords or by status. You can filter the dates or also filter by date of, or whether it's a check-in, an invoice, stay, checkout, and stuff like this. And in case you need, for example, whole number of reservations done per particular month, or the number of check-ins or checkouts, and stuff like that, you can always select the list and then download or even print this reservation list out. Then we have a very important column, which is property. Basically, this is the most important one for you when you add a new property, a new listing on booking.com. Here we also have this property page score. Ideally, it needs to be 90 till 100%, the more the better. You have here a checklist of all the things you have done well and something which is missing. And it would be really great if you fill up the whole list and have all the points covered to have like a great property page score, because it has a certain impact, of course, on the way how your property is then ranked on booking.com. Moving on, we have general information here, where you can change the name of the property, you have the address, you have the status, and also quite an important field, whether you're a private host or a professional host, meaning you have a company and you are an entrepreneur. Then there is also the possibility to be part of a partner liability insurance. You have all the details mentioned here, and if you are interested in such a deal, then please just read through that. I would almost always say that this is a really good thing to do. Even if your house has an additional insurance, having an extra insurance from any OTA, whether it's Airbnb or Booking, is always a great stuff. And I must say, they didn't have this option before, so this is also quite a new stuff, making them more related to the way Airbnb handles it. Then you have the section tax, like taxes, charges, and all this kind of stuff. Basically, you see how it's set up for you, for your property, and what is the most important setting in your region or country or city. Whether in case you want to change something about this information here, you cannot do it on your own. You will need to contact booking support. And if you need to contact booking support, you go inbox on booking.com messages. I will now skip to the next point right away. You would see here all the messages you would receive from booking.com. In my case, you don't have any, of course. You can type in here your question, but I would not recommend it, because what you will receive is some sort of basic articles, booking offers. And if you really need quite a fast solution and a personal help, then just please click on the contact options. You can select here which topic your issue relates to. For example, property details. You can also select here a subtopic. We'll also find here a lot of different articles, and see down here, see all contact options, and you can call them, or if it's not that urgent, compose a message, send this, and within 24 hours, normally, maybe faster, but normally within 24 hours, you will receive a message from them confirming your request or asking for additional details and stuff like that. This is how it works. So in case you have any issue related to the reservation, for example, or any sort of modification which you cannot do on your own, always go through this way by contacting booking support. Then you have photos, something I will not talk about that much. You just upload all the photos you have, high quality, take those photos. You can put off this smart ordering function. What exactly is it? It does not enable you to, order the photos your way. So it will automatically order the photos in a certain way. I would almost always recommend you to deactivate this function. Moving on, you have policies. So here you can set up the restrictions in terms of cancellation policies. You can add a maximum of 6. You can delete certain policies in case they do not relate to any rate anymore. And then you have also cancellation exceptions, where you have, for example, an opportunity to set up a grace period. You can set up date changes for non-refundable bookings. It's all up to you whether you really want to do that or not. But you can click through that, read through that, and even maybe use some of those things. Really depends on your strategy and on your property, on its location, whether you want to use those tools or not. In this case, everything is described, so I will not take time to go deeper into that. In case you have any specific question, please feel free to contact. Then you have here children and extra beds policies. On the one hand, you can define whether you accept children at your property and if you have any specific rates for them until a certain age. Just quickly show you how it works. Normally, I would prefer standard ones. The difference between standard rates and flexible rates is simply that for standard ones, it applies to all the rates you have set up, and there is no particular exception. Basically, this differentiation between standard and flexible rates is more interesting for hotels because hotels also do offer different room categories. And for them, it may be interesting to set up, for example, flexible children pricing. In case you have apartments and you have one unique apartment which is not replaceable by any other room or room category, just go with the standard ones. So what does it mean? You just simply can define that you have children from, for example, 0 to, 3. They can stay for free. And then you can say that all the children from 4, till 17 or till 12, it's up to you how you define these age policies. But you can actually say, well, they need to pay a fixed sum of, 30 euros per child per night. And then down here, you will have a summary. And in case everything looks fine, you can just save it and it will apply as a policy and will be visible for the guests. In my case, I'm not going to set up anything yet. Just wanted to show it to you quickly. And you can also say, well, if someone arrives, no matter whether it's a kid or a child or a teenager or an adult, you have extra beds. And you can also define here the age gaps and say, well, for the child, I require this sum, but for an adult, I require, for example, an amount, or I would like to have a higher amount, which would be, for example, I don't know, 50 euros instead of 30. And then you can also offer a baby crib, which is, I think, a great thing, because this is a basic example of upselling, also highlighting your property. You can say, well, I can offer you one crib on request and one extra bed. And something I've talked about before, you set up again your policies here. And down there, you will have the summary. So much speaking about children and extra beds. We're moving on to other policies. Here we have on the one hand internet and parking. For example, in my case, it's saying no internet access available, so definitely need to change that. Here you have also brief description of how payments are processed. Yes, in our case, they are processed by booking. You have here additional fees and charges, for example, in case someone arrives with a pet or requests an additional cleaning, or even if you offer a cleaning separately to a separate price and want to have it specifically in the price details, you can also set up a cleaning here, meaning that it will be added to the actual rate proposed to the guest. You can edit here damage policy options, for example, that you request a deposit or require a deposit from a guest, the way how it will be collected, and when the guest will receive it back. You can set up information about the arrival time, check-in, check-out times, address details, phone number, and all this kind of stuff. This is how it would look like. Or you can say, in case you have contactless check-in, that it's a 24-hour check-in or check-out process, basically. Would not recommend you that. So please always set up specific time ranges in order to facilitate the whole organizational process afterwards. You have here house rules where you can define smoking is not allowed, for example, pets are not allowed, it's up to you actually. And whether you accept or do not accept stays over 30 nights. I would almost say do not accept it because it doesn't pay off to handle such reservations via OTAs like Booking or even Airbnb, just simply due to commission amounts you have to give or pay to the OTA. And then there is also this option for risk-free reservations. You can learn more about it by yourself. Basically, at the very beginning, when you're starting to run the whole thing, I would not recommend to set up any risk-free reservations just because it makes it all a bit more difficult. Moving on, you have here facilities and services. This is basically a very long list of different amenities you offer at your property, but also surroundings. So, for example, you have a flat you share, you kind of rent to the guest, but there is also a swimming pool, which can be used by the guest, for example, for free. But it's of course not in the flat itself, but somewhere nearby. And in this case, you can say, well, this is a top facility I offer as a host, and click here on yes. So those facilities do not specifically relate to the property and what's inside the property itself, but also to the surroundings. In case it's a house, vacational rental, this can be a different case, of course. Here, swimming pool often is inside property. Then you have here property layout, basically also kind of overview of all the properties you have. You can create here a new one as well. What you can do here, you can set up the name of your property. You can set up the bedding option and the occupancy. Also some major details about the bathroom. That's pretty much it, what you do here. Some deep information about the property or the room itself is represented in the next section, which is room amenities. Here you can, for example, say how many square meters does the property have. And once again, you have here all the different facilities you offer. And basically, it's just a long list where you just click a yes or no. And in comparison with facilities and services, room amenities, as the name says, is something only related to the property and something which really is inside the property. Then you have your profile. Here you can add a host name, upload a photo, describe the property, describe yourself, the neighborhood, and all this kind of stuff. You can actually skip this point in case you are already running an Airbnb listing and have an Airbnb listing. In this case, you can actually, once connecting or once creating the new property on Booking, you can actually just simply copy and paste the link from Airbnb, and a lot of information will be filled out automatically. And for example, this field profile, will be filled up with all the necessary information completely automatically, and you don't need to do here anything anymore. But of course, if you're starting with Booking, then you would need to type in all the information here by yourself. Then you have property description. In this case, of course, if there is any kind of mistake, for example, the museum, yes, the one I have here, Kunsthistorisches Museum, so the arts museum in English. For example, if it's closed, and any other specific details which are not true or not relevant anymore, you can of course request here once again through Booking support to fix some kind of information, but basically you cannot change anything about this description in general because this text is automatically generated by the information it finds in the internet, by the information you set up in the amenities section, in a services section, when typing in your location and address and stuff like that. But of course, if there is really a mistake in there, they will try, the Booking support will try to delete things. So deleting things is something they can do, but adding new sentences, new words is something which is basically really not possible there. And the same goes for room description. And then you have also here a fine print section where you can click on all the important pieces of information you want the guests to see. A lot of those sentences here are related to COVID, as you can see, so basically are not relevant anymore. And in case you really need to add any additional information, you can also try to contact Booking and actually type in here what you would like to add. They will take a look on it, and you may have it may be successful and they can really do that for you and add specific information, but they can also deny the request, so be prepared for that. They have become quite strict in terms of everything related to texts, to names, and all this kind of stuff. Moving on, we have here messaging preferences. Also quite an important topic. Here you can actually create a new template. You have here basic standardized placeholders you can use. Then you can type in your text on the preferred language, attach images if you would like to, and add a template language, for example, if you would like to have two different options you work with. Then, in case you would like to have this message being sent automatically, you can use another section which is called Template Scheduler. And once you have a created template here, you can say, I would like to send this template always when a guest makes a booking. Select the template you have created and add to schedule. Afterwards, you will also have a preview here. Now we cannot see anything, but you would be able to see it and correct something in case it's not the way you want it to look like. Then you have also automatic replies. You can add as well, for example, some automatic replies related to check-in or check-out, something which is within the policy. For example, an automatic message which always says to the guest, reminds the guest that the check-in is between 15 and 22 o'clock or outside of the policy. Here, for example, you can say, well, the guests have to send you an inquiry. So the whole thing, for example, late check-in is a subject to availability, or early check-in, it's a better example, is a subject to availability, depending on how fast the cleaning lady will be, depending on which time the previous guest will check out, if it's the same day, and stuff like that. And you can also create a template here saying, well, dear guest, this is subject to availability because of these and these factors. So no matter when the guest, at which time the guest requires this late or early check-in, you will always send to them this automatic reply. But this, of course, relates to certain topics only, whether it's check-in, check-out, parking, for example, and so on. Basically, I would not use that. I would really go with a template scheduler, and everything which comes extra, you just can see what kind of questions do people ask most frequently, and maybe kind of prepare a list of pre-answered questions and send this list with all the necessary information once the guest asks for any particular question. Also, you can, of course, have templates which can help you facilitate those kind of really day-to-day routine messages, and you can save a lot of time in there. Yes, but this is something you really start to work with once you have guests, once you have inquiries, once you have a lot of messages to answer. And then last point is related to sustainability practices. I can say to you that you can go through this page by yourself. You can also fill up this list with saying yes or no. It does pay off, especially if your property is located in a country which pays high attention to sustainability. But even if it's not the case, still this kind of stuff highlights your property, and I think represents you as quite an innovative host, innovative company who care about the environment, about the world, and in my opinion, it's quite a cool thing. And it does pay off to take a look at it once and kind of say, well, I do have a certain respect for all this, environmental stuff in there, and I do care about our world and the environment and climate change and all this stuff. Then you have this block here, inbox. We have already gone through the block booking.com messages. You have the same basically for reservation messages. So it's an additional inbox where you would have all the conversations with your guest, basically, which you can also filter. Nothing specific about that, or search for a particular name or booking number in case you want to resend particular information, for example, as a really manual starting of some sort of reminding the guest about you, maybe sending out some interesting offers and stuff like that. But basically, if you have a lot of clients in there, with the time, I would almost recommend you to use an email marketing automation tool. There are a lot of them out there in the market, which are even free for use. So it will really facilitate the whole job instead of sending this whole offers here in this inbox section. And you have also here questions for your property when someone has not booked your property yet, but just wants to, ask for specific information. For example, if there is no clear statement whether you allow pets or not, whether you allow late checkout or early check-in, and there are just certain requests or questions, and the person wants to know in advance about that, you can enter this question here, and the ones you have answered the question, they will be shown here in the answered category. And a really cool thing about that is that those answers will be shown on the property page. So if another guest has same question, same issue, he or she can see directly that there was the same question once being asked, and they can see the answer and do not ask you again and again. But not so many people do that. So yeah, it works, but not always. And the ones you have archived here are not visible to another guest, so they remain private answers to particular questions. You can also see here that there is a category which is called Q&A preferences. For example, you can say, well, I don't want to have any questions being asked at all in advance before booking, and I don't want to give this opportunity to the potential guests. And the same goes for notifications. I would almost recommend you to leave it all on because for a lot of people, it is quite important to be able to ask for some details before booking. And of course, if you deny this possibility and do not accept this possibility, it kind of reduces the chance for you to win over extra customers. But it's up to you, of course. Last but not least, we are landing on this section, which is finance. Basically, I don't want to go through all of that in detail. You have here your payout information. You can have access to documents and different invoices between you and the booking.com. You have here different reservation statements. So it's basically kind of analytics related to your reservations. You have financial overview, bank details that you add from your sides. So you receive payments from the guests. VAT details. So here you have to add your VAT number, and also basic information about how you are getting paid, how the whole thing works. So this is maybe quite a relevant topic just for you to understand how it works between you and booking.com and how it's processed. You have here also frequently asked questions field where you can really take a deeper look on how it is all processed. So that's pretty much it. We are done with all the key fields here in the main menu. Once your property is active, you can actually have a look at it from the guest's point of view and to see how it really looks like for the guest, whether everything is correct, whether the property photo looks good, the main property photo especially, and stuff like that. So you have this visual overview of all the work done from the Extranet side. Then you have here a question topic where or a question sign where you can search for particular topics, ask questions, visit partner help, same as on Airbnb, for example, or have, for example, a look at legal updates. So really interesting stuff here, more related to community issues of booking.com. And then you have here your account settings, meaning that you can change your password, you can, have a look at your notification settings. You can add an additional user. or manage users depending on the role they have. You have contacts here where you can add your contact number or change it. Devices, where you can have a look at all the devices from where people or you yourself have access to the extranet of booking.com. You can request contracts details, which will be delivered by booking to your email address. You can have a look at the security issues, adding new property once again, or existing properties. In this case, you will need to add additional user, and this user from their end, they will need to, actually also add you to their user list, so you can kind of share the accounts. But we can, go through this topic more in detail in case someone really has such a question or such a topic, such a case. Maybe I will also show it to you once I have a good example. And also another really important section here is connectivity provider. Connectivity provider means basically that you have, as I already mentioned before, for example, PMS you use, and this PMS has also channel managers, so you have your listing offered on different OTAs in order to avoid overbooking, in order to facilitate the whole process. You have this PMS with channel manager and also send all the updates regarding bookings, regarding prices, and all the details to booking.com. You will need to connect booking and your channel manager. And here you can search for yours, like, for example, let's say you have Smulu as your channel manager. You select it here. In case it's not in the menu, you still can type in your particular channel manager, because almost all of them are connected to booking. And here you can select what exactly do you want to connect, what updates should booking.com receive from the PMS. And this can be rates and availability only, or rates and availability reservations. But for example, all the other stuff should not be transported, like reporting guest reviews, for example. Yes, so this is really depending on you, whether you want to have all of them connect to your PMS or maybe only certain fields. You can try it out and then connect it. And the other thing you will need to do is to go on your channel manager and connect booking to channel manager from the PMS side. I hope I kind of explained it properly. In case you need to go more into detail regarding this topic, then please send me a comment below, and also I will have a look whether I have a good example for you where we can go through all the steps together. So this was pretty much it. We are done for today. I am very thankful that all of you have shown the video till the very end and have seen the video from the very end. And thank you so much. Have a good day then.